Okay, so for the face, I want to take a bit of a new approach. I want to try a few things, and I already base coated the face with a mix of English uniform and brown ink, and I added a bit of tan shadow, which is a base color that is not too pink. So if you compare it to beige red, for example, a bit of a go-to skin color of mine. Yeah, it's not as pink, and you can see this is how it mixes on the palette. And then I just applied. Can we add a bit more brown? This is a good color to start off of. Again, multiple approaches to faces. I just want to try a new one, a more sketching approach with washes added to pronounce the features of the face a bit better. I'm going to use ivory for my sketch, and I'm just going to, maybe for the first layer, I'm going to mix in a bit of the skin color. Let's see, definitely want the skin to be, the chin to be brighter. So of course the forehead. Yeah, and in the sculpt, or in the previous steps that we took, I decided that my light source is coming slightly from this side, so you can always see that when I do these V-shaped armor parts. I typically align the highlights to the side where I want my main light source to be, so it's coming slightly from the left. I'm going to try and do that on the face as well, to keep the consistency along the model. So I'm making this side a bit more illuminated. Yeah, and one of the critiques that this sculpt got was that it looked a bit too masculine, and I think that's mainly because the jawline is really chiseled, which we kind of have to correct, or we're going to try to correct. Yeah, but also the cheek bones, or the way that the cheeks are sculpted in general. As you know, female faces have a bit more fat tissue below the cheekbones, and here there's a really hard angle here, which we're going to try to compensate. So I kind of want to draw out the mouth box a bit wider, to make the face a bit rounder altogether. Maybe like this, and also maybe the chin area a bit wider. Like I said, we want that whole front area to look a bit more round than than the sculpt appears right now. Pull this down a bit more. And then the extension of this. Yeah, so the hair will probably cast a lot of shadow here, so I don't think I want to go in there. Okay, also the lips, lower lips. I'm going to sketch in this stage. Definitely want these to be rounder and more pronounced. Right, then I'm just going to put in more lights with pure ivory. Just to increase the contrast even further. Okay, and I also want to paint the outline of the face now. The cheekbones, not the cheekbones, the jawline. I want to pronounce a bit more round. So let's put that in right now. Yeah, make it visible so that, yeah, it shows a bit of contrast versus the darker areas back here, and also the cheek. I think I want to push that even further. Let's see. Yeah, by pushing back that line a bit with the mid-tone. I'm sorry, with the base tone. Okay, so now everything is a bit rough. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use English uniform to draw everything a bit together again. Don't want this to be too opaque. I'm just going to apply a wash. We can go more opaque here. So, this. Face looks a bit yellow now, but that's actually fine. And we're going to go right to the shadows now. So two things I want to do. Use a bit of green and maybe even a bit of black for the darkest shadows. Obviously some cold colors and desaturated colors for the shadows. And I'm going to use a bit of the base color just in case, you know, to normalize everything and to draw it together. A bit of green, a bit of black. So to work on the darkest shadows, like below the lower lip. And also the upper lip. Lower corner, the lower edge of the upper lip also should be darker. Before we add some more color to that. Just like I said, a green desaturated shadow, or a cold desaturated shadow rather. Should even add some blue maybe. So blue, green, just some hints of that colder tones. Mixing it with the base color. And putting that into the areas of the cheeks and just below the lips. As you know, that those are areas that typically end up being colder. Also here below the eyebrows. Always adding a bit of the base color. Also, I want some purple around the eyes and on the lips. So let me just find a good purple here. Let's see, punk rock pink for a bit of intensity, and then some deeper purple. Putting it in around the eyes so that we have the tiny bit of a makeup effect. I also want to add it to the lips now. I think if the lips get toned down too much right now, we can always go back and work with these. Make them brighter again. Once everything else is done. Okay, so we also have to define the upper lip. And I want to make it a bit less slim, so it's a really thin upper lip. So let's pull these up a bit more. That should make her lips look a bit more female too. And it should also make, help make the face look rounder. If everything is a bit more compact here. So yeah, the upper lip is a bit shorter, and this mouth box area gets a bit staunched. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I think we lost a bit of definition here with the area around the face, the mouth box, I'm sorry. So here I think I want this line to be a bit more visible again. So let me quickly put that here. Yeah, to make that rounder again before we move on. Okay, one thing that's missing right now is a bit of saturation. So the cheek should be a bit more red, everything around the cheekbones. So I'm adding a bit of red. Yeah, red. And I'm adding back a bit of the brown ink. So right now we have a lot of yellow in there. Obviously the blue in the shadows. And the purple in below the eyes. And now we are just going to try and add a bit of saturation, like I said. I like the brown ink because it feels a bit more, it feels a bit closer to the color, the main color we have now. So I'm adding a bit of red to this, and I'm again starting a bit thinner just in case. We don't want to obscure everything because we have to apply a few more layers like this. I'm mainly going to use brown ink for the next layers, but the nose can be a tiny bit red, and then, like I said, mainly focusing on the cheek areas. Red in there. You can also use an orange wash at this point to get a bit more saturation even, instead of just using the red. So yeah, again, right now we are just trying to get all kinds of warm colors into the cheeks. You can also add it around the top of the face, the forehead. Just making sure that we keep some of that brighter area. And yeah, I think it's gradually coming together. Can add a hint of the purple that we have here. Around the cheeks too. And just a stroke. Or two. To mimic that, you know, makeup effect again. Okay, I think I like that. Let me just check the contrast with the rest. Yeah, I think we're okay. We might be a tiny bit. Yeah, we can push this a bit lighter. I just want to do one more thing before we go into highlighting. Let me just use some pure brown ink. Again, I don't want to start too opaque. So I'm mixing it with water. And then trying not to touch the brightest areas too much. I'm making sure it stays in the shadows and the recesses. Going to quickly apply that. And this should give even more shadows and value differences. Maybe one more layer when this is dry. Yeah, making sure it stays in the shadows, like up here. And of course, below the chin. Okay, yeah, I think that's good. So I'm gonna start adding back some color for the lips. I'm just going to use this purple mix. And I'm just going to use ivory as a highlight color. Okay, then very carefully I'm adding another highlight color. It is a bit too pink, so just mix a bit of the base color in. I'm using ice yellow as a highlight. Let's see, should work. And Need to be really careful now not to touch too much area, just putting some pixels of color in there. Need to shut up for that. Also up here. Don't want to ruin the gradients and the work we have done before this. Just like with the lips, a bit more contrast. And I'm using the ice yellow because it is a bit of a global highlight color for this piece. Because we used it in other areas too. Okay, so again, to stretch out the mouth box a bit, we want to pronounce this fatty tissue here. That's not really sculpted, but it is there, or it should be there. So again, it should add a bit to, yeah, to the feeling of roundness. And we can also pronounce the area again around the face, so all the muscles that, around the mouth, so the muscles that control the mouth and pull it outwards. At least the lower part of that. Okay, and yeah, just moving gradually a tiny bit brighter so that we have these last highlights. Obviously skin is super reflective, so we want some almost white in there. So I'm using more of the ice yellow. I'm just putting in the last lights where they make sense. Pronouncing the scar a bit too. I'm not going to add any more color to the scar because just the shade colors alone, yeah, made it stand out. And now I'm just pronouncing the lower edge so that it's clearly visible. Yeah. I would say almost done here. Right, so what's left to do is the eyes. Again, I want this purple to show in and around the eyes. So I'm just going to add one more layer of that. Careful not to obscure anything. And obviously the dark area or dark color, yeah, is going to make it easier for the eyes to stand out. So I'm putting in a little black for the area that is right below the arch of the eye sockets. Yeah, I think that's good enough. One thing we should probably do right now is put in a hint of eyebrows. So I'm mixing yeah, more of a gray. It's not really, I don't really want to use black for this. Pure black, but more like a gray, and we're just going to slightly touch these sculpted eyelids here. I'm sorry, eyebrows here. Don't want to overdo it, just a hint. We can go a bit darker. It just needs to read as something darker being there, and then that's fine. Again, this is so tiny, we don't want to screw anything up by putting a line that is too dark or something like that. Right, then we also need a gray for the eyes. I'm starting off with a dark gray. So the eyes here, they are in shadow obviously through the hair and eye sockets. So I'm going to just touch them with a gray. So that they stand out from the darker black and purple that we have here. So definitely not using white or anything like that here. Yeah, we probably can even use a bit of blue in that mix to make it even colder. Yeah, almost right. So I'm going to draw a line on the upper area and make it darker again. So the lower area can be a bit brighter because obviously that's going to catch a bit more light. Okay. Right, then I'm going to mix in a bit more black. So in this scale we're not going to be producing an iris and a pupil, well, I'm just going to put both of them in one with black, or you know, a bit more black added right in the middle. Yeah, my next cam, I already bought it, is going to have a bit yeah, of a better zoom function. So after the move, I'm going to set that up, and then you're going to see that a bit better. Right now it's a bit of, you have to believe me. So we don't want too much of the white to show, otherwise we get the effect of really, you know, the eyes open wide effect. So make sure that the pupils are wide enough and not too much of the white is showing. And then I'm still going to do the white dots, but it's not going to be pure white. Again, we want something darker. So put it off to the side a bit. Again, the light is coming from this side. I think that's it for the face. Yeah, I like the whole, okay, we have a shadow here, and most of the highlights offset a bit to this side. Contrast is good. Yeah, I like it. So next we're going to do the hair.